Good evening, everyone. It's Dorothea from Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. This is in regard to an update on the Flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla issue. I'm going to start with Greta. Her statements since she was deported back home. Little interview here. I'm going to share with you parts of it.
On international waters, we were illegally attacked and kidnapped by Israel and taken against our will to Israel, where we were detained. And then some of us deported, some are still there. There are very big uncertainties because it was quite chaotic and uncertain. So I don't really know what's going on. I haven't had a phone for many days.
What were the conditions for you over the last few hours?
They were absolutely nothing compared to what people are going through in Palestine, especially Gaza right now. And this is yet another international a violation of international rights, adding to the list of countless of such, especially towards Palestinians, that Israel are committing by blocking and preventing humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. That is illegal.
How did the Israelis treat you? We saw them giving out sandwiches on their social media. How did they?
Yeah, they probably have posted lots of PR stunt videos. As I said, I have not seen anything, but they did an illegal act by kidnapping us on international waters and against our will, bringing us to Israel, keeping us in the bottom of the boat, not letting us getting out and so on. But that is not the real story here. The real story is that there is a genocide going on in Gaza and a systematic starvation following the siege and blockade now, which is leading to food, medicine, water that are desperately needed to get into Gaza is prevented from doing so. But of course there are many attempts like this mission, both by sea and land, to break that siege and open up a humanitarian corridor.
Could I ask you, did you said you had no contact at all with any of your other colleagues from the boat when you were detained? Is that what you said?
No, that's not what I said. I was just mainly speaking. I don't really know what's going on because
you don't know what's going on with the others.
Are you worried
no,
about?
I wasn't able to say goodbye.
Are you worried about the others, that they might be detained for?
Yeah, I'm very worried about them. We heard many different messages pointing towards that they would not make it easy. And there were troubles with being able to see lawyers. I'm very much calling for their immediate release and calling for everyone who can to mobilize to their governments and other ways to demand their immediate release. And of course to demand not only humanitarian aid being let into Gaza, but also a ceasefire, but most importantly an end to the occupation and an end to the systemic oppression and violence that Palestinians are facing on an everyday basis.
Okay, so that's part of what she had said on her return home. She makes very good points. She is concerned about her fellow activists who were not released and deported as quickly as she was, probably because Greta is a well-known person in the news, in media, and all that. So let's not forget what she said. The warnings about things might not be as easy for these other activists. I'm going to take you now to this. Well, smash your head against the wall. Israeli police threaten detained EU parliamentarian. Volunteers jailed over Gaza aid mission face threats, hunger strikes, and legal battles after Israel seized their ship in international waters. This came out yesterday. And here she is. Israeli police have threatened to use violence against French member of the European Parliament, Rima Hassan, if she continues to refuse deportation papers after being taken from the Freedom Flotilla's Madeleine vessel earlier this week, according to Al Jazeera. Haid who was also part of the group of activists who were detained by the Israeli Navy in international waters and later released, says Hassan was threatened by Israeli officers during her imprisonment, with one telling her, "I'll smash your head against the wall if you don't sign the deportation papers. We'll handle this our own way." Wow. That is horrific, terrible, and you'll notice, although she's from France, she's part of the European Parliament, let's not forget, her name says her background is Palestinian. Her background is Arab, okay? And you see how they treat anybody who is Arab, dark skin like that. You see how Israelis automatically take them, focus on them and say horrible things. Another detainee, Brazilian activist Thiago Avila, has begun a hunger and water strike in protest. According to Adala, the legal center representing the group, Avila, 36, was beaten during his arrest and denied access to a lawyer for over 24 hours. Beaten. Gee, again, you see, they were light with Greta, as you can imagine, because everybody follows her, and the public outcry would have been worse. The ones that aren't as well known, yeah, it's terrible how they're being treated. I just wanted you to understand what was going on. These people are still there, as far as we see. I haven't heard anything about because they didn't want to be deported. They were taken in international waters, which is against the law, illegal, to be kidnapping these people out of international waters and bringing them to their country. Greta pointed that out, but it's true, right? So, not good. However, the outcry of what's going on in Gaza is not stopping there. Okay, so we're going to go in. I'm going to put on this video as it's explaining about the global march to Gaza.
Separate Algiers from Gaza, but on Monday, June 9, 2025, the distance has never seemed so short. An unprecedented wave of solidarity from the Fafirs across the Maghreb, carried by hundreds of vehicles and thousands of activists determined to break the blockade that has suffocated the Gaza Strip for more than 600 days. This extraordinary mobilization has a name: the Al Suyud Caravan, literally tenacity in Arabic. Leaving Tunis in the early hours of the morning, it brings together nearly 300 vehicles and several thousand participants from Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. The goal is as audacious as it is ambitious: to reach the Rafah border crossing, the gateway to Gaza hermetically sealed by Israel since last March. But this caravan is not a classic humanitarian convoy. It is above all a political and symbolic act of considerable significance. The organizers make this clear. The aim is to alert the international community to the injustice of the blockade imposed on 2.4 million Palestinians. The chosen route reveals the determination of the participants, crossing the Libyan coast, passing through Egypt, then walking for 3 days over the 50 kilometers that separate Al Arish from the Rafah border post. The Algerian participation deserves special attention. Around 200 activists left their country, divided into 4 buses that left from Algiers and Bourgabu Rired. Among them were emblematic figures such as Yayari, president of the Algerian Initiative for the Support of Palestine, and Marwan Ben Ghetaya, president of the Popular Coordination in Support of Palestine. In Beja, Tunisia, the welcome given to the Algerian delegation bears witness to this Maghreb solidarity. Hundreds of residents came out in the early hours to greet the activists as they passed by, waving the Palestinian flag and chanting slogans of support. This scene perfectly symbolizes the spirit of this mobilization, a cause that transcends national borders. The land caravan represents a new strategy. It is part of the major global march to Gaza, supported by more than 3 central organizations. On June 12th, delegations from 54 countries are expected at the CER, bringing together more than 3,000 people registered for this historic event. Among them are doctors, lawyers, journalists, students, and engineers. A true cross-section of mobilized international civil society. The scale of this mobilization surprised even the organizers themselves. Nabil C. Shanufi, spokesperson for the caravan in Soadu, told TRT Global that he initially expected only about 50 participants. This outpouring of solidarity reveals growing indignation at a situation that has persisted for months. In Rafah, hundreds of trucks loaded with humanitarian aid are waiting on the Egyptian side, blocked by the Israeli ban. French President Emmanuel Macron was able to see this situation firsthand last April. Tons of medicine, food and medical supplies are being stockpiled just a few kilometers from the people who desperately need them. Egypt, a crucial stop on this caravan, has not yet given the official green light to the program. The logistical and diplomatic challenges are enormous, but the determination of the participants seems unwavering. A major rally is planned for the 15th of June with the participation of members of parliament from several countries, transforming this citizens' initiative into an international political event. This mobilization marks one of the most significant acts of solidarity in Tunisia and Algeria since the start of the war in Gaza in October 2023.
Okay. So, this is, it's nice to see people, just regular people all over the world, in this case Algeria and other places. And as they mentioned, numerous countries, people are trying to come together on the 15th of June to show their solidarity with the suffering Palestinians. However, I will point out that as of today, Egypt blocks activists aiming to march to Gaza to draw attention to a humanitarian crisis. Egypt blocked activists planning to take part in a march to Gaza, halting their attempt to reach the border and challenge Israel's blockade on humanitarian aid to the Palestinian territory before it could begin. Egyptian authorities, and activists both said Thursday that people planning to march across the Sinai Peninsula were deported. To draw attention to the humanitarian crisis afflicting people in Gaza, marchers have for months planned to trek about 30 miles from the city of Arish to Egypt's border with the enclave on Sunday to create international moral and media pressure to open the crossing at Rafah and lift a blockade that has prevented aid from entering. Saif Abu Keshek, one of the activists organizing the march, said that about 200 activists, mostly Algerians and Moroccans, were detained or deported. But those arriving in the Cairo International Airport on Thursday afternoon were allowed into Egypt, the Spain-based activist added. Organizers have not received approval from Egyptian authorities for Sunday's march and were evaluating how to proceed. However, I understand that they aren't giving up on this. They aren't giving up. I had heard they are not giving up on this. They are going to find a way to get through. We will see. So I just wanted to share those updates for you on the Gaza situation, the Freedom Flotilla, those still there, who are on the flotilla, who are still stuck in Israel, and of course this global march to Gaza. Thanks so much for watching. Please follow my channel, like my videos if you like them, comment on my videos too if you have anything to add on how you feel, what's going on. Please follow my channel on Rumble. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Thanks so much for your support.